All right, guys. So I'm making this video because I see a lot of people talking about how they're speculating on other companies buying native instruments. So firstly, let's just go through some of the words that we talked about. I'm not an expert. Firstly, disclaimer, this is all speculation, but I do want to share some insight to the producer community so that we're not wasting time talking about speculative things that will never happen. So firstly, when it comes to the native instrument situation, it's called the preliminary insolvency. In short, you have something in chemistry called a solvent that basically dissolves other things into itself. And that's where the word comes from. It basically is talking about the liquidity of something. You can't get the liquid out of an object, in this case, in the solvent, meaning not able to dissolve something. Okay, so that's the short, you know, action behind it. Now, when it comes to the technicals, a lot of people are saying Apple should buy it, Fender should buy the company. What if Imageline bought the company, Akai bought the company, and all these different things, and music? It's just not that simple, guys. The reason Native Instruments, and again, I'm just giving you guys my perspective. I'm not an expert. I'm not some MBA pro level guy who owns multi-million-dollar companies, but I'll tell you guys this. There's a book called Corporate Turnaround Artistry by Jeff Sands, How to Fix a Business in 100 Days. You guys should go read that because it talks about the reason you have these kind of mercenaries come into a business, like what was ordered for Native Instruments, for example. There are dedicated people who come in and fix a company. And now these guys are usually sent by the government or some high-end institution, and their job is to literally just go in and basically like very mob tactic like stuff, like go in and correct things the right way, because the people who took the money, in this case Native Instruments, they need the person who lended the money needs the money back. Now if you dig deeper into the money that they got from these private equity companies, that money was most likely, and we could do deeper research, so I'm going off of just rough facts that I've looked up, it's leveraged. So what this means is that Native Instruments initially was funded by not just the company's earned money, they got the money from somebody else. So basically, think of it this way: Native Instruments got funded by, when you heard those, $50 million numbers and all this type of stuff, the company that gave them that money didn't just take it out of their bank account. They got it from the friends of that company. And so the friends of that company need their money. I think I pulled my mic out. So the friend of the company needs their money back, and that's why they send in corporate turnaround artists, is because they need specialists to go in and get their money back. This is not a game to them. So it's just selling off the company is not as easy as somebody just writing the rights over to somebody else, because they still owe the initial amount and more, from the different injections that they had. Again, I'm not a pro. I'm not an expert. I don't know all the specific terms. I'm just telling you guys, there's something in corporate acquisition called leveraged buyout. And mergers and acquisitions, especially what Native Instruments was doing, was merging with all these companies and acquiring. And to me, it seemed fishy because they were pulling huge brands under their umbrella. I mean, Isotope, I went to their headquarters up in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and the thing was, it was massive. They had at least 200 employees in there, and all getting full salaries. Plus, you had a huge building they were paying a lease for, I assume, if they didn't own the building. So, you're talking about at least a month, 50,000 just on the building. That's just to be in the building, let alone pay employees and do all this stuff. So it's a really, really high cost. So when I saw them merge with or acquire Isotope into their company catalog, to me it was a little concerning because, again, it's such a big company for Native Instruments to take over. And to me, Native Instruments just didn't seem that big to be taken over an Isotope, which is another huge company. So this, back in my head, I guess, I figured it was some form of leverage, and it turns out to be, in this case, I believe, true. So you guys can do more deeper research. Again, this is not a fully researched video. This is just going off of what I'm seeing and past stuff that I've been talking about. But I want you guys to understand, you can't just have somebody come in and just buy a company. That's just not how it works. Like, people are saying Apple should come in and buy it, Fender should come in and buy it. Firstly, you have to address the fact that they still owe probably multi tens of millions of dollars to these companies, if not the interest on top of that. So you can't just say, I want to come in and buy, the keyboards or buy the software rights and intellectual property. You still owe the people. So you can't just sell off an asset without buying the actual property from the people who lent the money initially. So that's going to be a huge cost to any company coming in. Firstly, you have to clear all that debt. That's a lot. Okay, that's like they took on 50 million, and I think it was 2019 or 2018 or 2017. I'm forgetting the year now. I did a video a second ago. I had to address my son. Sorry, guys. So I kind of lost my train of thought. But the short point is, no company's just going to come in and have to buy out all that debt, and then on top of that, potentially own the property that they still have to monetize. That's a huge, huge risk for a company to come in. I don't care how much money they have. I don't care if they're $1 trillion company. If they're already in the realm of competing with these companies, they're just going to wait for that company to struggle so that their products can be better and get more revenue. You don't need to buy another company to get the revenue because you're already in the game. So you guys are, a lot of the guys making speculations that, Native Instruments is potentially going to be bought by Apple and in music and all this. The problem is the company has a ton of debt that they have to pay back first. So why would a competitor go in and force themselves to pay all this debt when they can just simply push their own products and just wait for their competitor to just bleed out, basically? Again, I had to address my son, but basically it's this. If I'm competing against somebody, why would I go and spend like 10 times, like whatever the leverage factor is, let's say 4 to 10 times the amount I would have to pay normally to buy a company just to own the product that still has active competitors? There's nothing that somebody could buy from this company. I'm not saying nothing, but even the hardware, there's smaller margins, meaning I'm not going to pay a 10x multiple to get 20%. Just to simplify what I'm saying here is, it'd be more prudent for a competitor like Apple or Fender or whatever the company is to just wait for the company to dissolve and just hire their employees, or just push and promote their own products. Why would they need to buy somebody else's product? I said they're either going to hire their key employees and just rescue the employees and just poach their employees. That's what I see happening more than buying out IP that they don't need. If anything, we have all these technological advances like Claude Code and all this. Why would Apple buy a company when they could just use their own code to solve their own problem? So again, I think a lot of people are speculating, just creating video content. I'm not bashing anybody. I just think that it's kind of far-fetched to think that Apple would buy Native Instruments or Fender or In Music. Again, if you already have products that are competing against the company, why would you buy the company, especially when you have to pay a multiple on top of that? You just let the competitor bleed out, and then your own product will soar. So to me, it doesn't make any sense for one of these top companies in this space to buy into Native Instruments. Now, if an outside group wanted to get into the music industry, maybe they'd buy Native Instruments because they have an existing reputation. But again, a company that already has a reputation, a history, a product line, it doesn't make sense for them to buy Native Instruments in this case. Native Instruments, the reason they expanded so much, in my opinion, is because they wanted to monopolize the developers. So they started buying up all these, and merging with all these different developers. As you guys saw, they took on a lot of the sound kits and all these type of things for Native Instruments. And I think they just expanded way too much, through their acquisition. And now we see the repercussions of expanding too fast without solidifying your customer base. It's like having an empty base. It's like, if you have nobody to defend your base, what's the point of having a base? So yeah, those are my thoughts, guys. I just wanted to add my 2 cents in here. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I think a lot of people are like having copium about this Native Instruments thing. They're like, oh, it's just preliminary insolvency. And I'm not bashing anybody's financial situation. I don't ever wish harm or damage on anybody. I don't ever wish anybody to go under or whatever, any human, okay, or company. So I guess what I'm trying to say in this video is, a lot of people are like, oh, it's just preliminary insolvency. If you get to the point where you're like, hey, I have to potentially liquidate the assets, how do you liquidate IP? You have to have a buyer that's either in the industry or wants to get into the industry. It's not a profitable venture, so you have to have an operator who knows what they're doing in the industry to make it profitable. So it's not a good sign that they're moving into this restructuring. It just shows that whoever gave them money, or however they got the money, it was over leveraged, meaning they bet on themselves a little too much. And it could have been the pandemic. It could have been a lot of factors as to why they just went all in, and 4x'd or whatever, 10x'd. That's a lot of leverage. So it's called a leveraged buyout. So I guess the end of this video is going to be, I just want you guys to listen to everybody with a grain of salt, even myself. There's a lot of people making videos with speculation. Don't get hyped, guys. This is not, a lot of the stuff they're bringing up is just like fantasy land stuff. Like, hopefully I made enough points in this video. But again, the scenario I see, and I'm not an expert, so we have to remember, to have a buyer of any company, they have to be able to buy the company and run the company. So again, I'm not acting like I know the future or anything, but to buy a multi-million dollar company is going to be a huge responsibility to anybody. So they could leave the current leadership in, but as we see, it's something's not working behind the scenes. And if they take on even more, so personally speaking, again, what do I see? I see native instruments basically potentially going to be poached. Other companies are going to approach their employees. They're going to say, "You see, your company's coming to an end. Well, we have this job over here to give you security." That's what I see. I see some of their potential employment moving to other companies for safety reasons. That's what I see, and I see competitors just letting them bleed out. Maybe even less support for NKS, because you have to remember, guys, there's a format called, I think, CLAP format. It's, do I see their software being licensed out to somebody else? Not necessarily. It's like if somebody wanted to buy content, they'll just make their own. Again, when the competitor's gone, you have more room to create your own. So I don't think they're going to buy it just to have to be forced to make it super profitable. Just my opinion. What do I know? But like I said, guys, hopefully I made enough solid points here to make it make sense. Usually when you get to that level where it's like they're using leverage to, buy up other companies and roll them up, like, what buyer do you have at the end of that tunnel? So that's just my question. And again, what company would even buy them? Ultimately, at the end of the day, they still have to be more profitable. And the question becomes, what do they sell or do to become more profitable, regardless of who buys it or how it's sold? And one last thing I forgot to say is sometimes companies can buy the debt of other companies. So let's say there was a leveraged buyout of Native Instruments, for example, for 50 million, but Native Instruments can't pay the 50 million. So they go, okay, they paid back 20 million, but they still owe 20 million. So maybe a company comes in and buys their debt at 50%. So the person or company or institution who initially lended the money, they just accepted the fact that they didn't get their entire 50 back. They go, okay, they take that loss, but at least somebody bought back a guaranteed 10 million. So that could also happen, is simply somebody buying their debt at a cheaper rate. But who knows? Again, it seems like the company who gave them the initial money in this case really wants their money back, because they sent in a corporate turnaround artist, which again is like a mercenary to come in to really run things. Okay, so that's what I see, guys. If I'm off base, you guys can put that in the comments. I just wanted to make this video because I made a shorter video, but now I need to make a longer video because now the rhetoric in the community is about potentially being bought out by Apple. It doesn't make much sense. Okay, guys. All right, y'all, peace.